Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining in for this session. My name is Yukti Kapoor Mendirata. I am a certified leadership and etiquette coach. I run a company called SBY Academy, which offers leadership coaching and courses. This platform is not just a training platform, but a platform that truly believes that leadership is a skill that needs to be learned. And hence, we have an academy that offers that structured learning that one needs to go through to be a better leader. So people we address to and serve through our courses and coaching sessions are typically those who are playing a leadership role in their life at a mid-level management or senior management, or of course running their own business as business owners. So if you're a leader in any of these categories and you think that you can be better than you are right now, then you're at the right place, because it's that attitude which helps us to learn and keep learning. So with that endeavor to keep learning, I want to dive into today's session on SWOT analysis. This is one of those strategy tools which are, completely exploited. A lot of us know a lot about many such tools, but the question is, how much have we utilized it? How well do we realize the power of a tool such as this? So before we get there, I want to know my audience here in the room a little better. I'm going to throw up a question on poll just to know how many of us in the room right now are silhouette leaders. So by silhouette leaders, I mean people who have already experienced our online courses. ULB is Upskilling Leadership Blueprint that covers 4 very important leadership skills: creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. ULC participants are those who have taken up our 30 days challenge, another leadership course that dives into making decisions, how to make effective decisions, how to handle conflicts, how to elevate your EQ, and how to go deeper into self-awareness. That is ULC for you. And ULM is a spiritual leadership course, a 1-year commitment to not just be a better leader, but be a great individual, a great person who can handle any situation in life once you experience what spirituality means through the lens of leadership. So if you are one of us already, a part of our silhouette circle, then please say which course. And if not, if you're a guest, then choose guest. I'm waiting for a few more responses to know my audience here, and I will end the poll. So 64% of us here in this room right now are guests. Thank you so much for joining in. And the rest of us obviously are family already. So welcome back, Silhouette Leaders. I love the way you dive into these sessions every Wednesday to make sure you're adding more and more to your arms and ammunitions for being a better leader. So my guest would love to know a little more about SBY, and I would love to share as well. But let's do that during the course of this discussion, because this discussion will give us another reason why we should have a structured learning program to experience and leverage through. So let me take you through that once we are into the session. For now, since we're talking about SWOT, can anyone please tell me what does SWOT stand for? Like a very, very easy question. I'm sure you all know the answer, but let's hear it from someone. What does SWOT stand for as an acronym? Anyone?
It is nothing but strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats.
Absolutely, you're so right. So Albert Humphrey in 1960s came up with this acronym, and there are still some discussion going on if it was Albert, because we don't have any evidence of Albert saying so himself, but that doesn't matter. What matters is since 1960s, this has been quite a buzz. And since then, like any other management tool and strategy tool, people have challenged SWOT and its effectiveness as well, right? So people have another school of thought when it comes to SWOT to say that it's kind of dusted, and it's not a strategic tool anymore. It doesn't help as much, or it has a lot of limitations. It's not a very comprehensive tool for us to really strategize anything. So I'm putting out every version that exists on SWOT right in front of you, so that we know what we are getting into. Despite knowing there is a very well balanced view on SWOT, some bit on the positive side, some on the negative side, I chose to spend some time on SWOT today because I believe that it has a lot to offer, even though it is not a standalone comprehensive strategy tool. The only question here for us to understand is how well have we used this tool before we can park it aside saying this alone is not enough. I might agree with you, and we might add more to our strategy kit to say that it's SWOT plus something else plus some other model, and together with all these 4 models, we can come up with better strategies for our business. But the question is, after having considered SWOT to be one of those most basic tools to understand, and now that we call it as very, very basic, have we done the basics right? Have you understood how SWOT is supposed to be experienced? Have we been able to get the power it is designed to provide? Today's session is going to be about unleashing the power of a simple tool such as SWOT. And only after you experience that, and only after you jump in with your own SWOT analysis, will you be in a better position to understand the other models and tools required for you to build better strategies. But if you ask me, I strongly believe, after having led a lot of strategy workshops, that SWOT lays a foundation for any strategy that you want to design, not just for your business, but also for your own self. So in today's session, I would want to encourage you to do a SWOT for yourself and not for the business. Once you see how powerful this can be, is when you will be able to use it wisely in the office space, in your business space as well. All right, so let's have another poll question from our participants to know a little more about your understanding of SWOT. Have you ever done SWOT for yourself? Simple question. That's a yes or a no. You might know what SWOT stands for, but have you really drawn those 4 quadrants and put that as strength, weakness, opportunity, threats, and gone through this tool by yourself with whatever you understand it to be? A few more responses awaited. Very, very quickly, just give me a yes or a no. And I'm about to end the poll now in the next 3 seconds. So if you've done it for your company, I would take that as a no. Have you done SWOT for yourself is the question, because that's what we're going to do right now. So I want to know how many of us have done it once, and then let's see how this session is going to add more value to the exercise. So I'm ending the poll. 58% of us in the room have not done a SWOT on ourselves, and 42% have tried it out once or maybe a few times. Now, when we look at SWOT, guys, let's accept that our approach towards this tool oversimplifies the simplicity of it. It's already a very simple tool. And we oversimplify this because we just give a 1 word or a 1 line answer to this. Okay, so if we say, all right, I've written my 3 strengths, I've written my weaknesses, I've written 2 opportunities that come to my mind, maybe 1 threat, and I am done. I have used SWOT as a tool to understand. But now that I see all these 4 quadrants, I don't know what to do with it. Okay, so I always knew my strengths and weakness. It took me no time to put this down. Now, what is the conclusion? Like, where is this tool taking me? That is the question that we will answer in today's session. Not only will we learn how to do SWOT the right way, we will also learn how to leverage from your discovery using this tool. All right, so last question before I share this little secret on SWOT with you today. And that will be for me to know, how well aware are you about your own strengths and weaknesses? It could be one of those very daunting questions. A lot of people usually ask people around, do you know your strengths? It's a typical interview question as well. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then some cliche statements that follow, my weakness should sound like as if it's a strength. And my weakness is not something I should work on. I should only work on my strength. So focus on your strength, don't focus on your weaknesses. These are the kind of very widely put out advices that we grab and sometimes follow blindly. I want to challenge all these beliefs as well in this session today. Is it okay to let your weaknesses rest? Is it okay to only focus on your strengths and make it stronger? Or is it wise to look at your weaknesses and pick them one at a time and start working on all of them? If not, then which weakness of mine do I focus on, and which ones should be okay to let go? And how do I decide that? These are the questions that probably cross your mind when you look at these 4 quadrants after putting your answers there. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. What do I do? Where do I start from? what does all of this really mean? And how do I get to any point of making a decision? Let's see what we have as responses from the room. So 63% of us here believe that you know your strengths and weaknesses decently well, not very well. 4% think they know it really well. 29% think they don't know it so well, and 4% feel they don't know it at all. I have no idea what my strengths and weaknesses are because life is crazy. We are just busy doing what we do, and days pass by, and we really don't get the time to sit back and understand who we are so that we can apply ourselves in a better way. Now, people who are in this category of very well and decently well, I understand my strengths very well. I understand my strengths decently well enough. I want you to challenge your understanding for this session, just for the purpose of this session. Can you challenge your own understanding of your strengths and weaknesses? Because the fact is that even if we've understood our strengths, it becomes a fixed script in our mind about who we are. And it discounts the evolution or new conscious learning that you have grabbed from the time you realize your strengths for the first time till today. So, in other words, if 1 year back or 5 years back I did a SWOT and I understood my strengths, I'm still sitting with the same list. But in this period of 1 year or 5 years, I've learned so many other things and I've learned so much more about myself. So, how often are you revisiting your understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses? Is a question I want to leave you with. Because if it's not being done as often as it should, then it is just a scripted information that you are holding on to tight, and it might not be as relevant or even true today for your own self. So let us see if during this session we can challenge what our understanding of our own strengths and weaknesses is. Sounds good? So if you're all set to dive into a SWOT, this is going to be a workshop. Like I said, it's not a webinar, it's not a lecture. I am not going to do any talking except for putting out some questions. While you might see a bunch of questions on the screen, I would suggest you focus on the question that I will read out to you, one question at a time, and we will go through this workshop together. As we progress from strengths down to threats, please feel free to unmute and ask me questions if in case you need more clarity on that particular question. Okay, so if you're ready, then say bring it on, BIO. I want to see how hungry we are in the room so that I can bring on the right way of doing SWOT analysis. So let's see how many BIOs do we have in the chat box, because only they are getting to see the questions, okay? So, oh my God, that's running too fast. I can't read names. Gunjan says BIO, Santosh. All right, I have quite a few now. I can't read out all, but you've got to say BIO so that I feel excited enough to show you how SWOT is done the right way. Now, people who have experienced our courses, ULB, ULC, and ULM, Upskilling Blueprint, Upskilling Challenge, and Upskilling Mastery, have already experienced SWOT as one of the written assignments we offered in our collaboration module in ULB. Today, I'm going to do a hand holding session so you go through it again. I see some of our silhouette leaders in the room, and I'm happy to know that you're back for this session so that you can go even deeper. And that's what makes me love you guys. Okay, so sit back and let's dive into what SWOT really means and how it is done the right way. I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you're able to see it once I put it up.
Yeah, it's visible.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, do you see the mind map?
Yeah.
All right. So SWOT analysis, as you know, is broken into two segments, right? So there is an internal factor and then there are external factors related to SWOT. Internal factors are our strengths and weaknesses, factors which we can control, factors which are within our circle of influence, right? We can influence our strengths and weaknesses. So these are internal factors. And then there are external factors, factors which are beyond my control, outside the circle of influence, like the external environment, like the political environment, the economical environment, right? So these are the facts that exist that I need to exist within, but I don't have much influence, yet they have the ability to influence my life and my decisions, and hence an important quadrant to look at. Now, where all can we use SWOT? We can use SWOT to make career decisions. We can use SWOT to make business expansion decisions. We can use SWOT to make product line decisions. We can take SWOT anywhere as far as it's a strategic decision related to expansion. Sometimes SWOT is also used to analyze areas which are not working so that we can first converge and then diverge, right? So that's another way of looking at strategy. It's not always about expanding and expanding. Sometimes it's about converging, bringing focus back to a few things which are working, products that are working, and then focus on them, funnel all your energy and resources into them, and then get into diverging your product line or business offering. So you could use SWOT in this way as well. What we are going to do today in this session is run a SWOT on our own self. So I want you to assume as if you are doing a mid-course correction in your life. You're looking at your career right now, not necessarily unhappy with it. You could probably be very happy with what you're doing, but you're just putting your career on the table right now and observing the way it looks to you as a fly on the wall. You with me? So you're just looking at how your life is right now. Not necessarily bad. It doesn't have to be in doldrums for us to do SWOT. We should do SWOT as a mid-course correction as well, just to see, am I at the right place? Am I utilizing myself well enough? Is whatever I'm doing still making sense to me? Am I still relevant for my business or my career? Is my career still relevant for my growth? So these are the questions we want to answer through this SWOT. Now, in this discussion, if you have any questions, please unmute and ask, because it will be difficult for me to look at the chat box while my mind map is on. Yeah, so please feel free to unmute and ask your question at any given time in this session. Okay, so are we ready? Let's see, ready in the chat box, and I'm going to open this chat window somehow to only see that. Are we ready? Say ready, 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 and we get started with our strengths. One of the most difficult questions to answer sometimes. What are my strengths? I don't know. Let us find out, because we do know what our strengths are. Now, here are a few questions we will answer to know a little more about our strengths. But like I said a while back, please don't bother looking at all these questions. Allow me to read them out to you. Stick to the question I'm reading out to and write your answer in your notebook. So before we get started, let us divide one page into 4 quadrants. Take a nice big book if you can, or a nice big piece of paper. Don't take a small tinny mini notebook. These are not notes that you're going to look at ever again. This is an exercise. So consider this to be a workshop where you've got to have crayons on the floor, you have colors on the floor. You can just relax, sit somewhere on a big table or on the floor and spread a nice big piece of paper. And once you're done with that, break that into 4 quadrants. Name one quadrant as strengths, and let's get started with a few questions which will help us explore this better. All right, so the first question is, how are you different, unique, and special? How are you different, unique, and special? What do you think makes you different? What do you think is unique about you? What do you think is special about you? This is what you think. We haven't yet reached out on what people say, but what is your view about what makes you unique, what makes you different, and what makes you special? Please take a minute to write this answer down, and once you're done, say done in the chat box. This is how we'll go about the entire workshop. I would want you to say done after you're done, and then we move to the next question. All right, I have the chat box with me. So let's see how many of us are done. Spend some time on every question, guys. This is really important, and trust me, we will not do this ever if we don't do it now. The idea is to take this as a workshop and be hands-on with this tool, and not just limit your time here with understanding it. Let's not understand. Let's go beyond knowing. Let's get into the action mode now. Yeah. So done. Many of us are done. Fantastic. So if you haven't, then just leave some space for this question. You need to answer this question. What is different about you? What is unique and special about you? The second question is, what are you good at naturally? Which means, is there something that you think you're good at, without much effort. Like you're just effortlessly good at it. What are those things? See if you can stick to a skill level strength. You may want to add a behavioral strength or a character strength, right? But if you are able to stick to skill level strength, it will help you to make a few decisions and come up with a clear action plan real quick, right? So for example, I'm very good with analytics. It comes very easy to me to refer to multiple sources before I make a decision. I'm a quick decision maker. I have clarity of thought to decide because the criteria for those decisions come clear to my mind. My strength is that I'm naturally good at connecting with people. So I have interpersonal skills, right? Now this is where you go a little behavioral. My skill is that I am able to articulate my thoughts really well. So I have command over language. Now whatever that language is, doesn't have to be English. It could be Hindi. It could be a local language, right? For as long as you think your strength is to be able to express how you feel in one particular language. You're articulate enough to express yourself. That could be a strength too. So what comes naturally to you is the second question. If you're done, just say done in the chat box, please. All right. Okay, done, done. Many of us are done. Fantastic. This is going real good. Let's go to the next question now. What skills have you developed consciously? Now, very important question. Let's read this again. What skills have you developed consciously? Which means, have you learned something in the recent past or maybe a few years back? Have you consciously learned a new skill which you're confident about and now it can be added to your strength? Right? It could be a technical skill, it could be a leadership skill. Is there some skill that you have recently acquired in a conscious way? If you haven't, then you must explore the options that we offer at SBY Academy. I'll be happy to take you through it in a bit. There are a lot of online leadership courses that we offer, which have been researched enough to know that if you know as much as we are offering through these courses, you are quite comfortable within the leadership space in your career. Because these are the skills which are sought after in not only 21st century, but primarily in this pandemic time, right? So we've done all that homework to know which skills should leaders focus on, and we've created a very simple, practical, and deep course there for you, multiple courses. So explore that on sbyacademy.in. But if you haven't done that yet, it is a space that you must definitely look at, picking up a new skill consciously. Okay, so if you've answered this question for yourself, let's see done in the chat box and I can move on to the next question. Now, as you would have realized, when we are talking about strengths in this quadrant, there is no one or two questions there. It's not just about what are my strengths and what am I good at. There are so many questions we need to answer to really do justice to this one quadrant on strengths. What makes you different, unique, and special? What are you good at naturally? What skill have you developed consciously? And now the next question is, what do you think are your talents or inborn gifts? We all have some natural born gifts, right? We are kind of born with a certain talent. Is there any such talent you've been able to identify in you? You might not have an answer for this, so you might just. But see what comes to your mind right now. Is there something which you would consider as a natural talent, an inborn talent? Done. Just give me a done in the chat box very quickly, guys, so we move to the next one. And if you think you're not feeling complete with the answer to any particular question, please make sure you're writing that question down and come back to this question after our session.
Yukti,
Yeah.
I have a question. May I ask?
Yes, yes, Divish, please.
So I'm just going through these questions at this stage. Somewhere or the other, isn't it like comparing on various levels, maybe with different people, just to identify your strengths? Where actually should it that be the way?
So when you are talking about comparing it with people, Divish, it is a reality that no matter how we define success to be, success is always relative. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right? Now, what is the relativity there? It is a function of the environment, the society, right? If it's you and me running a race, I'm just saying typically because life looks like that sometimes, like we're in a race. Uh, I will know that I have come first only if you haven't. You with me?
Right.
Right? So if you're leading, it is because there are a few people who are behind you or are following. So it is always relative when we are trying to understand where are we on our learning curve in life, where are we in terms of our growth in life, and what are the decisions that we need to take once we understand where we are. Because those decisions are going to shape up our career, and career is a function of the society and the environment that we live in. So another understanding and a deeper understanding of success is about inner success, right? That is about tranquility at a very deep level where you can feel that sense of peace which cannot be taken away through materialistic losses. But let's face it, we get the flavor of success only when we are able to expand our lifestyle materialistically, only when we are able to enjoy luxury, only when we are able to buy things that we can now afford, which we couldn't earlier. We consider money to be a yardstick. We consider lifestyle to be a yardstick, which helps us to understand whether we are growing or we're getting stagnant. So, to that extent, when we are talking about strengths, it's not about how good you are compared to people around you, but it is definitely about how different you are and what makes you stand out in a crowd. Why should I look at you? What about you will make me look at you? How will you draw attention given that many others around are going to come from similar experiences? So even if you look at Ivy League, for example, Divish, there are many Ivy League colleges, right?
Right.
You consider anyone, even if you say Howard, now it's not as if there are just handful of people there who will come out and they will all become billionaires. There are many students that get enrolled in that college every single year. We don't know about all of them because all of them don't leave a mark. They don't create something substantial enough for people to notice them. You with me?
Yes.
Right? So you made your way into that school, but after that, what you do with your life is about first understanding who you are. That self discovery is what helps us with. And SWOT is just one of the tools. There are many other ways to elevate self awareness. But the key here is to be aware of your own self. Because there are people who will consciously do that, and there are people who will discount the benefit of it and will not. And when you don't, you just get carried away with life's events, right? Then you're waiting for someone to notice you and tell you how good you are so that you can focus on that particular strength and grow. Another way of doing that is to be aware of your own strengths yourself so that you can plan your next move. You with me?
Right. Yeah. The thing what I was like what you said is definitely there that we need some benchmark to actually understand how different or unique we are in terms of generality to come out on that differentiating factor. But at the same time, going back to the ULB course and the other sessions that I had heard from you, we are looking to actually create followers, right? Or leader is basically who creates followers naturally without actually looking at the creating a herd, right?
Yes.
Natural followers should inspire people to naturally follow you instead of actually making some other way to make the your colleagues or people to follow you in a different style, right?
Right.
It
Right.
should come out very naturally, and that is where I was just thinking on that, just referring to that point also. So when
Hmm.
we are talking about being a leader, and when we are again trying to compare, then why aren't we going on somewhere on that path itself?
Hmm. So if you look at these questions, Divesh, there is, like I said, it is not a comparison. It is about knowing the elements that help you to be who you are. Because there is something very special about Divesh that Yukti doesn't have, right? Or Srinivas doesn't have. Santosh doesn't have what Divesh has.
Right.
You with me? There's something
Yeah.
that Yukti has as a talent, as a strength that probably Abhijit doesn't have or Rita doesn't have. You with me?
Yes.
So if I am aware of that strength, it helps me to create a better position and make better decisions where I can apply that uniqueness that I'm aware of about me. So it is not about comparing yourself to see whether you are a better leader than somebody else. It's about you knowing what makes you a leader. You with me? And what makes you a leader is your strength. So if we are not aware of what makes me different, I mean, I'm saying different, I'm not even getting into better, worse, I'm not getting into scoring, right? But what makes me different? Is it the fact that I'm able to connect with all sorts of people? Is it the fact that I can have a good conversation with a stranger? Is it the fact that I can mix around with people really well? Right? Or is it a fact that I have a research bent of mind, so I go deeper into everything, and hence my knowledge is my power. I grasp a lot of knowledge and I do that really quick and effortlessly. That's what makes me different. When I talk about something, there is data behind it, there are numbers behind it. That's what makes it different, for me to share something compared to many other people who will have that information, but they might not have irrelevant data or information supporting that. But this is me, I go deeper into stuff before I start talking about them. So that's what I consider as my uniqueness, or what makes me different or special.
Sure, sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's get back to that question. What are the talents that you're born with? And now the next question now is
Hi,
how.
Yukti. Govind
Yeah.
here. Quick question.
Yeah,
Uh,
Govind.
First, second, and fourth, somewhere they are related, or how are they different?
Yeah. So, okay. So the first question is, what do you think is different about you? What do you think is unique, right? What do you consider as a unique quality? What makes you stand out as per you? Is it your confidence, right? Is it the ability to stay current with what is going on? The second question is, what are you good at naturally? So it is effortless for some people to speak their mind out. It is just who they are. They've always been this person who is able to speak their mind out. And then there are a few who have to frame those sentences first in their mind and then talk. And then there are a few others who are just not able to say what's on their mind. You with me? So what comes naturally to me, for example, could be that I'm just able to speak my mind out. The fourth question is about talents, right? So it could be a talent to be on the stage and feel comfortable. It could be a talent to connect with different kinds of people from different walks of life. It could be a talent which is more artistic in nature. It could be a talent which is more intellectual in nature. But those are the talents that you think you're born with. Some people are born with the talent of understanding numbers. They're very comfortable with numbers. We've all gone through our education, right? We've all kind of gone through the same cycle. But there are a few people who just pick it up like that. And they have this bent of mind to play around with numbers. So that's their uniqueness, and that's also their talent. So there could be an overlap in these questions, but the questions are different. The first question is talking about what you consider as your uniqueness. And to this, some people might not have an answer immediately, because a lot of us don't believe there is something different about who I am. And that's when we need to go deeper to know that there is something unique and different about all of us. It's just that we haven't gone to that depth. We've not yet experienced that question in the real sense. But for now, it might look like an absolute blank question. I don't know what the answer should be, and I'm parking it aside. But I am not leaving this question behind, because there is an answer to this question and you have the answer. But the answer to this question might not necessarily be the same as your natural talent. You with me, Govind?
Okay. Yes, yes, Yukti. Yep. I think I need some more time to
Yes.
think and write about this. Anyways, thank you, Yukti. Yep. I will
Sure.
need some more time. Yep.
Sure. So let's move to the next question, which is about networking. How strong is your network of connections? Like I said a while back, we don't grow in life in isolation. We are not in a jungle or the only soul on a mountain where there is nobody else who can create relativity. There is a sense of relativity in our life. The fact that I think I'm doing well has a certain benchmark against which I'm measuring my performance, and hence I know I'm doing well or I'm not doing so well. So building that connection and that network with people is what helps us to grow. Let us accept the fact that it is the people around us who contribute to our success. Sometimes with their support, sometimes with their recommendations, sometimes with their trust, right? And it is all of this put together that makes us successful. We alone cannot be successful in isolation. Even if I think I'm awesome, I am like the best thing that's happened to me, I alone cannot create much success unless people around me are ready to put their hand up and recommend or give their credibility, put their credibility behind my work and my performance. So whether you look at the bell curve that exists in the corporate environment, or you look at the demand supply situation in business environment, it is a function of how well you are connected with other people around. So here is a question for you in terms of your strengths. How strong is your network of connections? What kind of network comes to your mind when it's, is it just that LinkedIn number of total connections you have, or can you go beyond and be more realistic in terms of real connections that you have? What is the level of people that you're connecting with? As it said, your life is an average of 5 people you hang around with, and that is so true. It is true at a spiritual level as well. People we choose to be with outside our family are people who influence who we are, how we think, what we want to achieve, how ambitious we are, right? So it's a great idea to consciously handpick these 5 so that you are in the company of those you want to be like, right? There is an element of looking up to somebody. There is an element of having a role model in your life who can show you what it will feel like and look like once you are there. And that's what creates ambition, and that's what fuels ambition, in fact. Right? So what is the kind of network you're creating around you? Is that your strength? The next question is, what do other people see as your strengths? It's a great idea to write this down right now in your notebook, but I would encourage you to validate your response. Go back to at least 5 people outside your family to ask them what they consider as your strengths.
I was about to ask that,
And
Yukti.
then,
Yep. Sorry. Please go ahead. Yep.
yeah, and then also consider people in your family because they've seen you in your real form, right? They've seen the substance that holds you together. Who are you? You are who you are when you're home. So what do your people at home say about you? And you've got to encourage them to be honest. So leaving love aside, if you were to just look at me as who I am, what do you think are my strengths? So please write down what you think people would consider as your strengths and get this validated by people. Even if you've done a similar exercise 3 months back, you've got to do it again. Because in these 3 months, you have evolved as well. You've done a lot of things you didn't earlier. You've learned a lot of stuff that probably you didn't know until 3 months back. So go ahead with this from a fresh perspective and reach out to people. Make it a very simple and clear question for them, right? What do you think are my strengths at a skill level? What do you think are my strengths at a behavioral level? What do you think are my strengths at a leadership level? And let's see how well does that tally with your response to what people think about you. And the last question is, what values and ethics set you apart from your peers? Again, a relative question. There could be a lot of people around in office. There could be a lot of people who are holding, their own business firms and probably in the same line of business. What do you think helps you to stand apart? What are your values and ethics which you consider as your strengths? Each and every question is different from the other, while there could be overlaps, and each single question mentioned here has a lot of depth to offer. So I would strongly recommend we go deeper into each and every one, and in case you're not able to get an answer, park it aside, but do address this within 24 hours. There is a reason why I'm saying that. Please don't leave this for the weekend. You've got to complete this exercise within the next 24 hours, otherwise it will lose its effectiveness. Let's not wait for Saturday to happen for everything. Life happens every day. So if we've got to grow, we've got to grow now and not after the next weekend. Okay, so are we done? Say done in the chat box if you are feeling stronger about your strengths so that we can deal with our weaknesses a little better. Done, done, done. Just say done. Strengths done. Feeling stronger. Feeling stronger. FS. Feeling stronger. That sounds good. So let's say FS in the chat box. I'm feeling stronger. FS. Feeling stronger. Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. Great. You know, for some of you, it could be like some revelation, right? A new stuff showing up about me. I didn't realize that I'm naturally good at this. Oh, I never looked at my network to see that I'm actually connected very well with people, and I'm very consciously working on it, and I've done a good job so far. Yeah, great, great. I would love to know if you've got some new insight. Has anyone in the room got like something new from this already that, okay, this showed up and I wasn't so ready for it? Any such experience here in the room?
Yukti, could I go on that one?
Yeah, sure. Please, Gunjan.
Yeah. So when the question of how strong is your network of connections came up, I was planning to ask you that are you speaking of personal connections or professional connections? Okay, because I thought so long that I have different strengths as a person and different strengths professionally, in the sense of I tend to open out a little slowly, a little gradually as a person, but as a professional, I'm far more open, because I have the platform of work to talk around. Okay, but when I started thinking about it, I actually realized that they are no different from each other. So if I prefer close and gradual and relationships in my life where me and the opposite person value each other, it's becoming the same at work. I'm preferring professional alliances with a client that prefers or that values a relationship, and values what I bring to the table, what we bring to the table as a company. So that, I suddenly, the question wasn't a question any longer. It was so clear that, actually they are not different at all. So yeah.
Wonderful. What a lovely sharing. Thanks so much for that, Gunjan. And I'm glad you mentioned this because that's where we create complication in our life. When we try to segregate these as different silos, this is me in my personal space and this is me in my professional space. Sometimes what we are losing in terms of all that we can gain as value from life or benefits from life is because we are trying to be a different me in different spaces. So when you talk about strengths, it is your strength is who you are, and you will play to them in your professional space as well, almost effortlessly, right? So this exercise doesn't have to be done in two different ways. What are my strengths in my personal space and my professional? These are my strengths. This is Gunjan's strength. This is Gunjan's SWOT, right? And once I know what it is, I can take it anywhere I want. I can play on it any which way and anytime I want. Great, thanks. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's now move on to weaknesses. Okay, so here are a few questions I want you to consider for weaknesses. Now, before I open these questions, let us understand and accept that we've got to know our weaknesses as well as we know our strengths. And it's not as if we'll be emotionally damaged if we know our weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. The only thing that makes us beautiful and unique is the fact that we are imperfect. But the beauty is in those who can accept those imperfections. Perfection is an illusion. There is nothing perfect. Even God hasn't created anything with any level of perfection. It is the beauty in the eyes of the beholder that we consider things to be perfect in nature, right? But they have their own imperfections. The moon is not perfect. The plants aren't perfect. Every leaf is not perfectly designed. They have their own beauty, and we accept it is the way they are. The problem is when it comes to accepting your own self, there is this big list of expectations you have of who you should be and what is a perfect version of what you can be, and anything less than that is not okay. So one thing that I want us to be okay with is that it is okay to not be perfect, because perfection is an illusion. It is not a reality. We need to know our imperfections. And having said that, it is not necessarily the best strategy to leave your weaknesses aside and say that it's all right, I've got to focus on my strengths. I don't have time in life to focus on my weaknesses. Because sometimes your weaknesses can take away opportunities that exist. And those weaknesses aren't too difficult to tame or get over with. You can create a conscious learning plan to overcome those weaknesses and grab the opportunities that exist. So please don't discount the weaknesses after we realize what they are. So let's first realize what are the list of weaknesses that we think we possess. The first question I want you to answer is, what are your negative work habits? What are your negative work habits and traits? You know this is negative. You know this particular habit doesn't work for me. Maybe it is coming late. Maybe it is not taking time seriously. Maybe it is not writing down things and giving too much importance to my ability to remember things. right? So I feel as if I can retain everything, and in the process, I lose some important piece of information, and I usually bear the consequence of that, right? So, what do you think is a negative work habit that you have? Maybe it is about not writing emails or communicating professionally, and you fall flat on your face when situation goes awry and you have absolutely nothing to show because you just go verbal. You're probably too lazy to write things down on email while you realize that it's important to be done. I don't know. What do you think is that negative work habit that you have, or a trait that you have which is negative? The second question is, does any part of education and training need improving? Is there any part of your education or training in your current work environment where you feel that you need to learn more? You don't know enough. You need to educate yourself better. You need to train yourself better. It could be a technical understanding or knowledge, it could be leadership. Like I said a while back, we all get into leadership roles because we are great with what we do. Once we prove ourselves to be great executors, we are promoted to a leadership role. Doesn't necessarily mean that we are ready to be a leader because we've not learned it. And just as how we can't start talking in a new language without learning it, leadership is just another language to be learned. You have to start with the letters and then go to phonics, get the syllables right, get the words right, start framing sentences, start understanding grammar, start putting these together, and then you arrive at a level where you're able to use that language to articulate your thoughts. It's the same way leadership works. Just because I've started business today doesn't mean I'm a leader. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started a business, which means I can sniff a need and I can create a solution with which I can generate profits. That's my skill as an entrepreneur. But doesn't necessarily mean that I'm also a great leader. So, what have I done to improve my leadership skills? What am I doing right now? What am I planning to do in the future? How well prepared am I? Is that my weakness to not have enough education and training? Is that the area that requires improvement in my case? Or is it some technical uh, tool that you need to know? Given the change, in the business dynamics right now, is there something you need to know better? Maybe you need to befriend technology better than you do. Maybe you need to understand AI a little better and see how you can incorporate that into your business. I don't know. So that's the second question for you. The third question is, what would other people see as your weaknesses? Now, this is the question that you will club with the strengths one when you're reaching out to 5 people you know who are close to you. When you're asking them about your strengths, please also encourage them to share what they consider as your weakness. And please don't reject or even accept it immediately. Don't immediately just jump into an action mode. That's what we land up doing when we get a negative feedback. I am open to criticism. I'm open to feedback. Give me feedback and I'll start working on it. Every feedback doesn't qualify for an action plan. We will do a session on feedback sometime soon to help you understand how to really pick what to work upon. But for now, let us collect this information and see how much does it tally with your own understanding. So what is your answer to this question, what people consider as my weakness? And after your feedback session, what do you see on paper from other people? How much does it tally with your response? That's what I want you to do for the purpose of this SWOT. And then we can go deeper into feedback some other time to understand what kind of feedback qualifies for an action plan. Okay, the fourth question. Yeah,
I have a question.
sure.
Looking at the first part of weakness, where what are your negative work habits and traits? So, like what you mentioned, one of the examples that maybe we are just communicating orally, not having written things, maybe a mail or something like that. But if one of the strength was getting things done, and that getting things done precisely meant that I may not actually have to sit and write everything,
Hmm.
but it is more of getting things done by oral communication, follow-ups, and doing all those things, which may not actually have a trail. So
Hmm.
should I then focus on getting that things? Because if I start writing emails on that follow-up perspective, I'm going to
Hmm.
spend a lot of time on follow-up by writing mails, and then again, because I somewhere some of the work needs to be done on call. I need to be actually make them follow up on the call rather than the return.
Hmm.
Return will be just there for a record that okay, I had sent you this thing because in future something lines up like what you specifically mentioned. I don't have any proof to showcase that I had actually done a follow up.
Hmm.
So in that scenario, what should be considered? Then is actually that getting things done your strength or not?
Hmm. So if you are thinking about emails and written communication, when you hear this question, then somewhere you know that that particular action is important. And so you're able to connect the two, saying, all right, yeah, so that's what I'm not doing, and this is negative, which means there is an element of should there, Divesh, right? That I should be doing this. What supports that statement will be interesting to know. So if you can go deeper into what makes you think you should do it, right? If you start bringing this in as your habit, if you start writing more than you do, what will you gain from that? What are the benefits and what are you losing? You with me? So,
In fact, I am saying it the other way around.
hmm,
Actually, I might be writing a lot of emails and all those things as follow-ups. But
hmm,
since I'm not following that, that is also called making up a delay of that work. So instead of actually writing a mail, if I actually take up the phone and start calling up, that
hmm,
would make my work done much faster. So should
exactly.
I focus on
Hmm,
optimizing my time and finishing on the focusing of completion of the work, or rather than should I actually look at writing those things, which I am doing right now, but I am saying the other way around because I am not calling up them, or it should
hmm.
be combination of definitely ideally the combination would be both of them. But then it is also going to eat up my time accordingly, right? And
Yes.
making me remember that I have to also call this guy again.
Right. So it'll be great to get some more information to really create the right balance. But like you rightly said, it will be a combination of both. It is about a little follow up on emails and also picking up the phone and trying to solve the issue as quickly as you can. What really will help us decide is to see a situation in isolation, Divesh. You know, for example, there are a few people who are not so active on emails. So we could be talking to an external stakeholder, right? We could be probably talking to a vendor who needs to respond. And I'm writing a mail, but the vendor is not acting. And if I call, that work seems to be happening real quick because for them, the first line of communication might not be email. For somebody else, email might be the first line of communication, the quickest way to reach out. So if your emails are falling on deaf ears, then it is going to impact your effectiveness, right? You're not achieving anything by just writing down emails to people who don't consider email to be their first line of communication. Having said that, you need to have a certain chain of communication going so you can come back to it to say that my first communication with you was on this date and it's been 6 months since then and we haven't moved much. For that reason, you could have a few emails sent out, but we will have to sniff the situation, which will include the personality and the communication style of people involved, right? Communication, like we did in ULB as well, Divesh. You've done the course, you know, if you remember, we talked about communication and we said that communication is all about how other people perceive the message, how do they receive the message. It is not about how I like to send the message out as a sender. You with me?
Right.
So I might love writing emails and I might consider that to be very professional and I might be looking at my emails every hour. Doesn't necessarily mean it is how my vendors communicate or my stakeholders communicate as well. So what is their communication style? And then I need to adapt my efforts and align my efforts towards it.
So coming back just to that, coming back to that weakness point. So my whole idea was to understand here that in that case, my what I was actually considering my strength as getting things done may not be the actual thing. Now it has actually turned out to be my weakness, or it may be my negative work habit itself. But again, that is where the thing comes up that should my work habit be termed negative, or should my skill of getting things done be termed as a strength? Is all completely depending on the other party.
Hmm. Okay. So I will just answer this in one line and we'll
Sure,
carry
sure, sure.
on.
Please, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Divish, I think when we're looking at work habits, it's not about which habit is popularly considered as positive, which habit is has majority votes to say this is a good habit or a bad habit. You with me? If you are someone who can get work done, then that's who you are. You have that ability to get work done from people. But maybe your weakness is that you write too often and too much, and you're not picking up the phone and getting things done, and you feel somewhere that if you do that, it will be even better. You will get more work done if you're able to pick the phone once in a while and not just send emails. So that's where this particular work habit of sending emails becomes negative, which is to say that no work habit in isolation is positive or negative. It is a function of the culture that we live in, what is the environment that we're living in, what kind of work that we do, what sort of stakeholders we're dealing with, what are their expectations, and what is their style of work. Except for a few universal things like punctuality. In fact, even that, people can let go of if you're in an environment where nobody seems to be respecting time. And if meeting starts at 9 o'clock, you're pretty much the only one there till 9:15, 9:30. God forbid. Okay. But if that's the environment and you don't lead the show, you have very little influence to change that environment. So the point that I'm trying to make is that the negative or the positive, word that we're attaching to work habit is not necessarily universal. It is going to be influenced by your work, the culture, within which you are working, and the kind of stakeholders that you're dealing with. You with me?
Yukti, can I add something here?
Yeah. Yes, Govind, please.
Okay, so Tivesh, this is how I see. Now, maybe getting work done is one of my strengths. Okay, but again, be it phone or email, the output, how effectively you're able to get things done. And again, somewhere I feel this is related to maybe people see this as your weakness. So obviously they are related somewhere. So if you get this as a feedback from one of your team member that you're harsh and you are forcing to get or the information or the data, then again I think that will again fall into your weakness. Again, I might be wrong. This is my understanding. So this is how I see it as if I have to differentiate, if I've written down something as my strength, and that also is part of my weakness, and that how effective is my strength, that is how I would calibrate it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the yardstick should be the outcome. That is the point being made here, and I agree. Yeah. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Govind.
Sure,
All right.
Yukti.
So the next few questions, very quickly, we move on to the next one, which is where can you improve? What are the areas in your technical skill level, leadership skill level, behavioral skill level that requires improvement? And what are you afraid to do or most likely to avoid? Very interesting question. Very interesting question, because this is what we do subconsciously. We don't do this consciously. At a subconscious level, we start resisting things which will take me to areas of discomfort, right? So I don't want to interact with multiple stakeholders. I don't want to have 2 3 bosses. I don't want a global role. There'll be one local boss, there'll be one somebody sitting in some other country, and it just gets too much to deal with. So that clarity exists in me, but it's not a conscious decision. So somewhere I operate from there, and that becomes my weakness because it is not letting me grab the opportunities that exist. Are you with me? So that could be one area where I've identified that this part I'm not comfortable with. It takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm likely to avoid. And is that my weakness? Is that coming in my way? Or it could be about public speaking. Very, very common space to avoid for people, that I don't want to address a town hall. I don't want to have big teams. I'm not a people person. Right? Instead of overcoming that weakness to do more and grow better, I succumb to that weakness to say that, I'll do anything to avoid that. I'm doing well and this is good. Right? My strength is that I can connect with people, but these are the people I've chosen to connect with. I'm not going beyond, because I also have a weakness which makes me believe that I'm not a public speaker. And if I grab a bigger role, I will probably have to address too many people that I'm not comfortable with. This is where you challenge your weakness to say, can I look at this weakness and improve upon it? Are there opportunities that exist which I can grab better if I work on this particular weakness of mine, instead of letting all of them go to say I'm only going to play on my strengths and I will not look at my weaknesses at all?
Yukti, I have two questions here.
Yes, please.
Okay, how is this question different from the second question, which says does any part of
Sorry, Govind, I'm just going to put everyone on mute and then you unmute yourself. Okay, so
Sure.
we can cut down on
Sure.
the noise.
Sure. May I?
Yeah, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So two questions, as I mentioned. The how is this question different from the second one, which is does any part of education and training needs improving? Improving. So, for example, I might consider public speaking as a training. Uh, yeah. So that's one question, and I feel somewhere this question should come under threat. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Maybe you can
Hmm.
help me on this.
Hmm. Let's visit threat to know where all
Okay.
can this question sit. But what is important is for us to answer the question, right? If it is
Yeah,
being perceived as a threat or a weakness, it wouldn't matter as much as for us to answer this question to say, all right, so not only am I aware that public speaking is a part of that education that I have to go through, I am also aware that I'm afraid of this particular space and I kind of avoid situations which will put me there, right?
okay. Okay.
So everything for your second question, for example, where you think you require training and education might not be something that you're necessarily afraid of. For example, leadership, right? You know that you need to work upon this better. You can be a better leader. All of us can be. There's a huge scope for improvement for all of us to be better leaders, right? So I consider that to be my weakness, saying that I don't have any plan behind it. I'm not consciously doing anything to improve myself as a leader. So that remains as a space where I need more training. But I'm not necessarily afraid to take up a bigger responsibility as a leader. You with me?
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
that might not be an answer to the last question. What's the second question?
Okay. I think you've answered pretty much both the questions. The first
Okay.
question was how is this question related different from the second one, and I feel the fourth question should actually come under threat. That is what
Hmm.
I was thinking.
Let's see that. Let's see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Doesn't matter. We'll
Yeah.
have to answer them. That's important. So now that we've understood our strengths and our weaknesses, I once again want to humbly offer the solution in terms of learning and education on leadership through our platform SBY Academy. We have a lot of silhouette leaders here in the room who've experienced it and have been kind enough to share testimonials, which have been very, very overwhelming for us to receive. So I will take a moment to go through the website and share a little bit, if I may, with your permission. Just say bring it on in the chat box so I know I have your permission to very briefly tell you what SVY has to offer, and then also place an offer in front of you to be a part of this family today, right? So thank you so much for your permission. Let me very quickly show you what the website looks like and what all do we offer as leadership courses. So SBY Academy has 4 courses. Like I said, there is Upskilling Leadership Blueprint, Upskilling Leadership Challenge, Mastery, and we also have a guided meditation for leaders. Upskilling Leadership Blueprint is a course which takes you deeper into 4 very, very important skills: how to bring in creativity at work, how to be a critical thinker, go beyond low hanging sources and grab more sources before making a decision. So this makes you a better decision maker and helps you to solve problems in your professional and personal space. How to improve and make your communication effective even in the virtual space, and more so in the virtual space, and how to collaborate. In fact, the tool that you're experiencing right now is one of the 10 activities that you will do in this course with us in ULB. It's a learn at your own pace program. It's not run in batches. The moment you register, the course starts for you, and it helps you to achieve the following, as you can see on the screen: to make best decisions, think out of the box, create a balance, develop collaborative skills, and communicate effectively, more so in the virtual space. You can go through this website at your leisure. There are some testimonials. Some of these people are here in the room right now. Abhijit, for one, has never missed a single session that I have ever held. He is, one of the founder members of our course, if I may say. He's done ULB, ULC, and ULM, and of course a meditation course as well. So there isn't anything that SBY can offer which Abhijit has not grabbed. And the same holds true for Soumita, who's an ex-Air Force squadron leader, and Rakesh Bhatia, who's a senior vice president with a Tata consultancy, Tata acquired company called EcoFirst. So it's a great community, guys. I want you to be a part of this community so that we don't restrict our interactions only to our weekly webinars. This course is very, well priced. It's at just 4,999. It's a 15 days course, and the content stays with you for lifetime. But as a small token of appreciation for your presence here in this webinar, only for today till 10 p.m., you have a code called webinar, all in caps, webinar, WEBINAR. Please use that code when you say enroll now here to avail another 1,000 rupees discount on this already reasonably priced course. So you can get ULB for 3,999 if you use the discount code webinar today before 10 p.m. I hope that you make this decision so that you can be part of our Silhouette Circle of Leadership. And there is a lot more that we do and discuss, which does not happen in these weekly webinars. That is exclusive for only our Silhouette leaders. There are other courses here as well, which you can explore and register for. All these are open, except for ULM. Upskilling Leadership Mastery is on spiritual leadership. This is run in batches because these are all live webinars only. There is a video here. You can go through that to understand the course a little better. But in short, spiritual leadership is what we all have to learn and experience in today's time. It is a real test of our strength, the way we've dealt with this pandemic. And we need to make ourselves stronger through spirituality. And spirituality is what helps us identify the leader that we truly are within. So this course is a 1-year commitment to understand and go deeper into your own self. And it'll shake you up in terms of all your limiting beliefs. I am not good enough. I cannot be rich enough. I'm not smart enough. And all those areas in life where we think we are not enough, you will feel a sense of completeness. You will feel a level of mindfulness through this course. So ULM is already running a batch which is full. We will be opening the next batch in January, but we will soon open the registrations for that batch. Since these are all live classes, you cannot enroll anytime. You will have to wait for a batch release. So like I said, the next one is being released in January. We will soon share information on registration. Grab this course, guys, because with all the research that we've done before we put this together, I could not find any course that can combine spirituality and leadership the way we have been able to do. And there are people here in this room who are experiencing this course. Maybe later in this webinar or in some other, I would love to encourage them to share how they're experiencing this. But it's a course that will be tough to find anywhere else. And this comes from a lot of my own experience on both spirituality and leadership. So I want to really welcome you to our family of Silhouette leaders through ULB using a discount code called webinar, which is valid till 10 p.m. today. Thank you for allowing me to introduce this platform that we put together very, very passionately. If it sounds interesting, just give me a little encouragement in the chat box to say looks good. So I know that I have your commitment to go through this website later, and maybe you would want to consider being a part of our family. Yeah, does it look good? To say looks good? Looks good, Kunjal. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Please explore it. Let's go beyond just one session a week. We can do a lot more together and learn a lot more. Let us sign up for one of these courses and immediately you become a part of our circle. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Praveen is saying it is good. Praveen is again one of those lifelong learners who grab every opportunity to learn whatever he can, despite having a huge line of laurels behind him. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Praveen. All right, let's come back to SWOT. We understand strengths and weaknesses. Very quickly, the next 15 minutes, I intend to wind up the session. Let's look at the questions we should answer for gauging opportunity. Opportunity is where we serve external environment. Okay, so in the external environment, we need to look at the economy, we need to look at the industry, and this is where we need to challenge how much information do we really have. So first question is, what is the state of your country's economy? So since we're all here in India right now in this room, what do you think our economy is going through? Where do we stand as a country in terms of our economy? What is the state of economy in India? How aware are you about it? It's not just GDP. It is not just inflation, but the effect of it in your life. How does it affect your life, your business, your career? What is your understanding of India's economy? You might say it's not of my interest. You might say, I'm too busy with my work to understand what the macroeconomics is. But as a leader who's consciously paving path towards success, we cannot shy away from learning about the economy, the environment that we have to live within. We've got to grow here, so we need to understand the environment really well. I would want to encourage you to go a little deeper into your understanding of the macroeconomics of the country that you live in. So, what is the state of your country's economy? The second question is at an industry level. Is there a new technology in your industry that looks interesting, that looks like an opportunity, right? Is there something new that is probably easing out one part of your process that you can grab? Maybe it can just make something faster for you. Maybe it can run a better quality check on what you are currently doing. The third question is there a new demand for a skill or a trait that you possess? You did not consider that skill to be your primary skill till now, but now you realize that there are opportunities around in the environment where my skill or this particular trait that I have, this particular strength that I possess can be used. There is a market that I can now see, which probably did not exist or was not visible to me till some time back. Very important question to look at. After you've understood your strengths, map it with the opportunities to see, is there an opportunity which is a direct relation to my strengths? The next question is there a need in your company or your industry that no one is filling right now? Is there something that you can put together which not many people are looking at right now? What is that something that you can do? So for example, my answer to this question for my company was spiritual leadership course. ULM is the space that we identified as an opportunity in terms of business, because we have seen a lot of spiritual courses. We have seen a lot of leadership courses in the market. We've done a lot of research to see how is this combined. If you look at spirituality as a topic on internet, you will see a lot of religious content floating out. You will see a lot on Christianity. You will see a lot of Hinduism. But spirituality is not about being religious at all. So, how can we understand the power of spirituality and use that power to become powerful leaders? Merging these two was an opportunity that existed in front of us, and we grabbed that with our skill to create powerful content. So, we put that together after we identified an opportunity and we created something new. Right. So, how are you able to gauge such opportunities or open windows in your industry, which are probably not fulfilled as of now? The next question is your industry growing? Is it a growing industry? Is there an opportunity which exists now within your industry because of the kind of industry it is? Or is it not? So for example, again, I'll take my example here. Education industry could be considered as an industry that's going to shut shop because suddenly everything came online, right? Forget about companies being ready to deliver online. Were customers ready to receive learning online? Maybe not as much as they are today. And that is the reason why most of these academies or coaching centers were doing one-on-one sessions. So were we. We had absolutely nothing online except for a website and some social media handles. We had no courses to offer online. Everything happened in 2 weeks' time for us, even before the lockdown was announced, by the way. So we were a little proactive in doing this. Having said that, a few people probably did 2 weeks after the lockdown. That's not the point. The point here is, are we able to see opportunities before in a more proactive manner, or are we reacting to the industry situation and then becoming one of the many who are doing what we are doing? Are you able to see how this industry will go? And how is this going to grow beyond what it is right now? If you have to go beyond this particular country, what are the ways in which you will do that? You will have to go online. How can you bring your kind of business in the online space, no matter what kind of business it is? Is it
I have
possible?
a question here.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sure, Bindu.
Yeah, Bhupesh here.
Bhupesh, yes.
I have one question like, are we considering the other weaknesses and other strengths also in the SWOT analysis? Let's say, because my weaknesses and other strengths could be the opportunities, and your strength or our strength or others' weaknesses could be our threats also. So, are we considering the other weaknesses and other strength also in this?
So you're saying other people's weakness could be my strength?
Yeah, because I have some weaknesses, and other strengths could be holistic way could be the one opportunity, or my strengths or other weaknesses could be the threats again.
So when you say other weaknesses, you mean other people?
Yeah, other stakeholders, maybe in the, if you are in the organization, then it could be the stakeholders. If you are doing some private type of things, then the peers could be your others type of, so others could be the maybe the, if we talking about the companies, then other companies weaknesses could be there.
So is there a specific example that comes to your mind, Bhupesh, maybe for you, if you're comfortable sharing?
uh, yes, for example, if we talk about the company shares and all that things, let's say the strength of the other companies, which could be the opportunities for the for other uh, company, or the in the personal level. For example, if some of the company is more or good in the artificial intelligence, let's say, since you have given that example, the I have a weaknesses of that artificial intelligence, then it could be the opportunities for me.
So what you're saying is, if you are not comfortable with artificial intelligence, you don't know artificial intelligence enough, but other people do. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah, so the market could be the captured by the artificial intelligence, and that could be the my opportunity for my company. That's what I am talking.
Yeah. So if you are good with artificial intelligence and you know the solutions that you can derive using artificial intelligence, and other people are not there as yet, then it is an opportunity that you can grab faster than them, right? But
Yeah,
if there is an opportunity for people to grow, and for example, if like in education space, people want to bring their academies online, it is an opportunity for these platforms that exist, which help you, which create LMS, right, for you to have your own inbuilt courses. So the LMS companies start growing in terms of their business opportunities, because there are more people who are now keen to explore their platform. Are you with me?
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you are actively able to see an opportunity where you can apply your strength, then you have that first mover advantage before everybody else, right? And if on the other hand, there is an opportunity, but you are stuck with your weakness because of which you can't grab that opportunity, then the question is, do you want to overcome that weakness? Is the opportunity big enough for you to overcome that weakness and go beyond? Which, like, we had to do. And I've shared this with you, Bhupesh. You are a silhouette leader yourself, and we've shared in other sessions that I was absolutely blank when it came to any tech stuff, right? So we had to teach ourselves technology. We had to befriend this space so that we can bring our business in a meaningful manner and faster onto the platform. So that was a weakness still some time back, which had to be overcome because the opportunity was bigger. You with me?
yeah, yeah, understand.
Okay, so very quickly, the next few questions here. Is your industry growing, and what networking events, online courses, conferences, or coaching can be relevant for you? If you are leaders, guys, I would strongly recommend you to have a coach in your life, because that totally and completely expedites your experience of being a better leader and your journey of being a leader. You are in a position to achieve a lot more when there is someone who can look at you from the outside without any attachment, any emotional baggage, but just looking at you from the outside to tell you all that is seen outside, because all that is seen outside is going to create a lot of influence, will be a huge factor considered in your growth story. So there has to be somebody who can look at you and honestly guide you towards your strengths and hold you and support you to overcome your weaknesses. And that for me was my coach, and I have quite a few coaches. And for you should also be a coach that you can identify and invite in your life. If you are somebody who's ambitious and wants to grow faster, having a coach is one of the best ways to do that. Also seek out for some programs, some courses that you can sign up for, whether it is through our platform or any other that you find relevant. Please consider adding to your knowledge in a consistent manner. It is not about using time as an excuse to always say that I work like 25 hours a day. right? We need to probably learn time management in a conscious manner. If we think we need 25 hours in a day, maybe I can do better with the way I spend this time. Maybe that's what I need to learn. So whatever it might be, if you put some weaknesses down, please make sure you create an action plan to overcome those weaknesses, and some of which will be structured and should be structured. It has to be done in a way where you commit and then there is no looking back. So that's what I would want you to explore in opportunities. Yes, please.
I have a question. Go in here.
Yeah,
Okay.
go.
The coaching, the coach that you just mentioned. Today in market there are like hundreds of coaches. Few of them called as a life coach, leadership coach. Now, how do we identify who's the best coach, and how do we gauge them? As in, if that coach is the right coach for us?
That's a good question. So here is what I would do if I were to look up for a coach for myself. And like I said, I have coaches. I am a coach, and every coach should have a coach. So I have one too. I think if one were to sign up with a coach, they need to look at some recommendations, some testimonials, people who have experienced coaching sessions, and what do they have to say. What is the pedigree of those people who've experienced? Is it more of students getting coached? Then maybe that person has expertise in career options, right? So career counseling is probably their forte, right? Or is it about people who are probably homemakers and they are giving great overwhelming testimonials? So maybe this particular coach is very good with relationships, and they've been able to help these people in managing relationships better. So it's about some level of certification, but I'm not such a fan of certification because I think it's a stamp, and stamps don't take you too far. But there are some certifications which are mandatory, like ICF. It's a very reputed association for coaches. It's called International Coaching Federation. Having an association with ICF tells you that the coach has understood the structure of coaching, and it is not just a knack of being an agony aunt, but there is some learning, some method behind the approach, the coaching approach there as well. Some structured methodology behind the coaching session. So that bit can be looked at, but I wouldn't consider that to be the only filter. I think the testimonials of people for me is a very important criteria to pick a coach, and also the reputation that they enjoy, the kind of work that they do, how are they showing up, how well are they living up to what they are saying. So following them for a bit, talking to people who've experienced sessions with them is probably one way to identify a coach. So don't mix coach with a role model, because a role model might not necessarily be a great coach. So what is the single most quality of a coach, if you ask me? It is the power of asking powerful questions. A coach is someone who helps you identify your answers to your questions, and not someone who gives his or her answers to your questions basis their own experience, right? When you're sharing your experience, you're being a mentor, you're being a role model, you are somebody who's kind of been there, done that, right? Maybe I was where you are 10 years back, so I can tell you what works and what doesn't. But then I'm not a coach to you, I'm being a mentor to you, I'm probably a role model. A coach is someone who might not have any industry experience at all, but they have the ability to ask the right questions. They have the ability to not judge you for who you are, right? Not being judged is very, very important in a coaching relationship, because the rest entire world is busy doing that with you anyway. So a coach is somebody who is expected to not judge, so that they can go beyond what they just see in you. They can take you deeper into who you are. That's the responsibility of a coach.
Okay.
Yeah, go with.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So
Yep. Thank you.
let's.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Let's get to now threats. But just before we do that, let me have a quick look at the room to see how many people are there in the room that I've had the honor of coaching, and maybe they can share their experience a little bit. Abhijit, Abhijit, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I just thought very quickly you could have a response on this question on having a coach and what a coach can do for you in life. And if you
Yeah,
could briefly just introduce yourself first, Abhijit. Of course, many in the room know you, but still for those who don't.
so I'm a chartered accountant and a law graduate by qualification, and
I'm into risk management for the last 2 decades, having handled multiple roles in industry and also in business and practice. For me, coaching is something has made me introspect quite deeply into a lot of things, especially the SWOT analysis. So I was looking at SWOT as basically something which was too generic, which I could finish off in just a couple of minutes, as these were some strengths, but got a lot of validations and a lot of introspections and, as you say, a course correction for me uh, in my stage of career. So in the last 3 years, I've focused not on my strengths, but a lot of weaknesses which were actually coming in the way of my opportunity. So I think that was a huge revelation to me. So it's yes, you had your strengths, and up to a level they were good enough, because it depends on various stages of your career. So in my stage of my career, I was firmly entrenched in my strengths. A lot of weaknesses which were coming in way of your opportunities. So linking your opportunities to your strengths, ensuring your weaknesses do not come in the way of your opportunities and don't become threats. And as I said, weaknesses in others being a part of your opportunity for you to basically fill a role which is unfulfilled. I think this was a great and I think this is just one session. I've not missed a single session of these Wednesday sessions, and they have been huge learnings for me. And maybe somebody like, I think if Eric is there, he knows me what I was about 3 years ago, and he knows me now. I think at the end you could take Eric's opinion. I think that will be a better way of putting me. He knows me for the last 20 years, so the progress in the last 2 3 years is what he could be the right person to comment upon. Yeah, so if Eric is there, I think he would be the right person to actually say what the impact of coaching on a particular person can be.
Sure. So, Eric, are you there in the room?
I can see him, but I don't know whether he's in there.
Meanwhile, can I ask a question here, Yukti?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Now, for example, if I want to learn chartered accountancy, maybe I can. If Abhijit is coaching, is into coaching of chartered accountancy and all that, I can reach out to Abhijit. But again, if I want to learn, if I want to learn business, maybe I will reach out to a business coach. If I want to learn leadership, I will have to find a relevant leadership coach.
Right.
So now, what is more important? A person who has already been there, done that, or someone who will not what do you say judge you? What's the most important skill of a coach?
Hmm. So,
So, Yukti, can I answer it? Because the
yeah,
question
go
was,
ahead.
one is for a chartered accountancy. One is that if somebody is advising you on a specific subject, he becomes a mentor based on his experience. But I think when I look at it, is I look at more at skills. And when you're looking at skills, you need a coach. You need a mentor in a specific area of your weakness to help you develop. But at a coach, you talk of at a very strategic and a very broad level. And then at your stage, when you are at a student or a young professional stage where you need to develop your skills, I think there what you're looking at is more of a mentor than a coach. So I may not, though I've done my chartered accountancy or may have done a lot of things in this subject, I may actually not be a mentor for a specific area. Yes, I could mentor, but I could be very specific. But as far as skills are concerned, like a problem solving skill or a decision making skill or an analytical skill, if you need to learn that, then maybe you need coaches to help you go deeper into that and develop your own strengths. Nothing beyond that.
Yeah, I understood the importance of a coach. Now I'm trying now when I'm looking out for a coach. What's the quality that I should look for? Someone who has been there, done that, just like you, for example. You have been doing the accounts and all that. Maybe I'm using a vague term, or someone who can guide me and uh, uh, will not judge me, because that person might not have that relevant experience.
Hmm. So, Govind, simple answer to this question is, if you are looking at a skill that you need to improve, for example, business acumen, right? You want to set up a business, it's good to have a mentor, it's good to have a role model who's kind of been there, done that, and they know what it takes to start a business, how to raise funds, how to pitch, how to expand, right? That's when you need somebody who has a first hand experience. So a business coach usually will have some business experience of their own as well to validate their understanding. Of course, they will also have a lot of testimonials to say how many businesses they've been able to support, which you should look at. But when it comes to leadership, everybody has their own style of leadership. To be able to identify your style, you need to know yourself better, and that is what a coach helps you to do. And hence that element of judgment, that element of judgment is should not be there, because if it is there, then we are busy managing our image. We are not able to kind of really show up as who we are, and we usually do that throughout our life, by the way. We rarely ever drop that image. So to be able to drop that is when you're allowing yourself to see who you are, and until you see that, it's very difficult to be an authentic leader. Then you're trying to be a leader, look by looking at somebody else. Just because you admire them for who they are, you try to lead them the way they do, but they are not who you are. So you're not playing to your strengths. You're just kind of replicating somebody else's personality, which doesn't take us too far. You with me?
Yeah,
So it
I'm
depends.
trying.
If
Yes.
you're learning if you're learning a skill, if you're learning to be a better CA, then you need a CA to tell you what it takes to be a better CA. If you're learning to, if you want to start your own CA firm, then you should talk to people who have run CA firms in the past or are still probably learning, running them successfully. So you need a mentor. But if you are looking at understanding yourself better so that you can lead your show the way you are, then you need a coach. You don't need to have somebody who comes with a similar background as a coach.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I get that now.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Yukti. Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for your patient listening. I know we kind of went on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's a very, very important part of our action plan, if I may say, from this SWOT analysis on what can we do now that we've understood our strengths and weaknesses. Maybe we need to look out for a coach. Maybe we need to sign up for courses. We need to bring in more learning for sure. All right. So what are the threats that exist? Let's have a look at that too. Now, here are 5 questions that I want you to answer on your threats. The first is, do your weaknesses inhibit your ability to rise in your company or your life? Are your weaknesses coming in the way of your career growth? That is what this question means. Are your weaknesses coming in the way? Then that's a threat. That's when your weakness becomes a threat. I am not able to take instructions from people. That is my weakness. And now it is becoming a threat because I am rubbing the senior management on the wrong side every now and then. And it is limiting my growth in the company. Okay. So, how aware are we and how we are able to link the weakness with threat? The second question is your industry contracting or changing direction? There are a lot of businesses we've seen in this pandemic, unfortunately, who cease to exist. And not that people cease to exist, those business units do for whatever reason, and now they're finding a new direction for themselves. Is your industry experiencing many such episodes? Are there many people who are planning to shut down and change direction? Or are things more stable at an industry level, while there still could be a few people around within your acquaintance who are planning to change course, right? Might not necessarily indicate where the industry is going. So how aware are you about the stability of the industry as a whole? And is that under threat? The third question is there strong competition from the type of jobs for which you are best suited? Right? If you think that you write really well, how many authors and writers are you fighting against for that shelf space? What is your ambition with that writing? Is that going to be your career? Is that going to bring food to the table? What is the level of competition that you are going to face there? Is that going to be a threat? Will it be a late start for you if you were to explore that space, or are you very comfortable and confident about exploring that regardless of the competition? But what is the level of competition you are preparing yourself to face, given that you leverage on your strengths? So the job that you consider yours to be best suited is competitions for that particular role or that particular job. The fourth question is, what is the highest external danger to your goals? Could there be something happening at external level, at a political, economical level, at an environmental level, at a social level, where it is beyond your circle of influence but can impact your goal? Right, so there could be some regulation change that doesn't allow. So for example, I may want to expand my business to China, or I might be sourcing things from China, and maybe the country relationships are different today. Maybe that particular transaction, which looked like any other business transaction, is more than just a business transaction and will take me through challenges which I was not so prepared for. Are there some dangers that exist in the environment which exist now and probably weren't there earlier, but they are going to affect my goal? And the last question is, are there any new technology, education, or certification requirements that will impede your progress? Is there an ask for some minimum level of education or some minimum certification for people to let you in today's time? Right, so initially when you start a business, for example, in the coaching industry right now, while ICF is a guiding principle, it is not a showstopper. Really, there are a lot of coaches who've not experienced any structural training on coaching, and they're coaching because they have a flair, and in the process they're learning and trying to be better coaches, and they get their share of business as well. But if there comes a time when we decide at a regulatory level that there is a central association now that will have to certify you as a coach, and only then can you start business. For example, in Dubai, you can't just go and just become a coach there. There are certain regulations that you need to fulfill there, right? You need to show your body of work. There are 100 documents to be presented to the government before they allow you to put yourself out there as a coach. You get a license number. So every country has their own way of allowing industries to exist and expand. How well aware are you about your particular industry and a possible ask that can come from the external environment in terms of the requirements for your industry or your expertise? So these are the areas that we need to look at more proactively to see if there is an existing threat or a possible threat that you might face. And then what would be your action plan? Any questions so far? Or I will share the action plan and the next step forward, which is going to be a closing session, a closing argument to what SWOT can do for us. Any questions, or can I go ahead with the final step that's going to stitch up the whole exercise for you? Okay, so this is the last thing to be done and the most important step to consider after you have done your SWOT. So if you've done with your SWOT, just say done in the chat box. Let's just say done quickly so that we can wind up the session, have a clear action plan at the end of this, and enjoy your dinner a little better. Done, done, done. Great, great, fantastic. Okay. So here is the last thing to be done. We have two approaches to stitch up the SWOT analysis. The first approach is to match the strengths with the opportunities and see what strengths you can use with what opportunities, and match your weaknesses with your threats to see if there is a particular weakness that you're aware of which can lead to a possible threat, and then you want to eliminate those from your goal, from your plan. Okay, so that's one way to do that. Match your strengths with your opportunities, match your weakness with your threats. The second approach is to convert, where you're able to validate a few weaknesses which are worth considering to work upon, realizing that these weaknesses are keeping you from growing, really. So they are quite in the face now after this exercise especially, and you want to overcome and convert these weaknesses into strengths, and see if you can convert the threats into opportunities. For example, if there is a threat to the industry right now because of technology and we're not using any technology in the training space, can I use this as an opportunity to learn technology and in fact use technology to train more people and go beyond geographies? Can I look at the existing threat and convert that into an opportunity? Can I look at the existing weakness I have and convert that into my strength? Which of course requires a learning curve. You will have to go through a learning curve to do that. How committed are you to go through that learning curve? What lies on the other side of this effort for you? And is it big enough for you to go through this way of stitching up your SWOT? So just doing this SWOT alone makes no sense unless you stitch it up using one of these two ways, right? Either you match and substantiate your effort by grabbing opportunities using your strengths, or you go ahead and cross the learning curve, pick up the weaknesses which have been there forever and you've just been ignoring them, create an action plan to overcome and convert them into your strengths so that you can leverage on the opportunities that exist today. That will be the last leg of this exercise that you need to do at your end. I would love to take up more questions. If you have, you can send it to me on email. Yukti@sbyacademy.in is my email address. I'll be happy to answer them for you over mail. I'm just, I'll stop sharing the screen. And here we are back in the room. So yeah, very quickly, any quick questions or takeaways from this session will be great before we wind up.
Yukti, I actually have two requests. Hello,
Sure,
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah. So the first request is, Yukti, I am part of ULB and ULC. So sometimes I tend to miss these master sessions. So is there a place where I can find the recording so that I can go through it, or maybe if I want to relearn or go through it once again for better understanding, is there a place, or do I have access to go through it and just go through the recordings or certain sections of those recordings?
Sure.
That's my first request.
You're talking about the weekly webinars that we have?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So this is on our channel, YouTube channel, SBY Academy. I will share the link with you, Govind. But if you go onto our website, you will see YouTube icon there. And that will take you to our channel, which will have all the recordings of our weekly webinars.
Sure. Thank you. And my second request, Yukti, I've already requested this on the previous last week. If there's a WhatsApp group, can you please add me to that group, because I'm missing all the learning.
Yes, we will do that, Govind. Thank you. We received your mail as well. We'll make sure that we're creating a separate group for webinars, but you are a Silhouette leader, so we'll add you to the Silhouette group. And for those who are not Silhouette leaders as yet, once again, please use the discount code webinar and grab this offer, which stays valid only till 10 p.m. today. Offer is a further discount of 1,000 rupees on ULB, which then offers the course to you at just 3,999. I think it's a steal. Grab it so that you become a part of us, and we together will continue to learn a lot more. Thank you so much for your patient listening and awesome active participation. Thank you. Have a fantastic evening ahead and a great week to follow. I will see you next Wednesday with another interesting insight into leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Yukti. Thanks a lot.